Cloud me up, bruv.
Hi, welcome to the What If Podcast. Your host tonight gonna be Spanker Whatnot and Ran Cramper Snap.
Hi. Shout out to everyone except that one lady who said she was never going to listen to our podcast again if we kept playing those Lydia sounders.
Turns out she's not.
She's not here to hear it.
She's
so
not
that's
here to
fine.
hear it, and that's okay.
What's going on with you?
Just fine. You know what, man? I'm doing okay.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you?
I feel like someday I'm going to ask you that question, and you're going to be like, fucking great.
All right.
And then we're going to celebrate with air horns and confetti. I feel like every week you're like, I'm technically here and alive.
No, I mean, I'm not bad. I just, normally what happens, when we do this show is I've got like morning dog responsibilities, and I got post-work responsibilities, and I got like a 10-hour work day, and then I come straight here without eating dinner. And so usually
Gotta throw some snacks in the truck, bro.
I need some snacks in the truck. But I think it's normally when I get here, I'm already kind of 12 hours deep into like a long day. So I'm like, all right, I'm settling into a new thing. I gotta change gears. I gotta spin my head around in a circle to be like, now I'm doing something different.
Don't exorcist yourself.
I was thinking more like putting the gopher head on and like spin your head. Spin your head. They do that. That's a cheer, right? The Minnesota Gophers. They make because the mascot's head is not attached to the body. And so if enough people yell at him to spin his head, he just goes, and just spins his head around in circles.
Sports are fun.
Sprouts. SPROTZ Sprouts.
Continuing the streak of me shouting out a podcast that isn't ours at the beginning of every podcast.
Why the frick not, bud? Why the frick not?
Our friends Kyle Tranmyri and Tony Williams have a podcast called What's Good, Man?
Sure do.
And I don't know if they do it every episode, but they do this thing called, where they check in with one thing that they're feeling strong at or strong about.
Oh, sure.
And one thing they're feeling weak at or weak about.
Oh, wow. I really like that.
Uh-huh.
That's like, did you ever have a class or like a situation where you do like thorns and roses?
Yeah, I get that it's mostly the same thing. I hate that phrasing so much more.
I mean, of course you do.
Right.
But that's a very
anyone who's listened to any of the previous 150 episodes should have anticipated that.
That's a thing you would hate. Uh-huh. Yes.
It also, I like the strong and weak thing because it's more of like an introspective, like self-evaluation than it is like here's a good thing and a shitty thing that happened to me.
That's true. And that with that introspection, you get the empowerment of I am strong, like I am good. It is me. Mm-hmm. Whereas like a rose is just like it could just be like
makes me think of The Bachelor, which is not great.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. See? Coming around.
That's I mean,
coming around to my personal perspective on this thing.
I think I'm more just bummed for you that your immediate association with one of the most beautiful flowers in the world is a terrible reality television
show. So that's where I'm feeling weak. So we should do it quick though. So would you say you're feeling weak at?
I'm just feeling weak at energy right now.
Yeah, or like adjusting,
transitioning,
yeah,
shifting gears.
Sure.
Yes.
What are you feeling strong about?
What am I feeling strong about today? I'm still here. Perseverance, bro.
Okay.
Perseverance is
versatility.
Yep. Those are both true. I'm doing a lot of things and I'm keeping them all moving.
Weak in the snack department though. Easily fixed.
Yeah. But you can't eat on the show. That would be so rude to all of y'all beautiful listeners.
Right.
Munch.
So you're doing it anyway.
Munch. No. That's a funny sound effect. If I was actually eating, it would be... Oh, see? Yo, exactly. Not funny sound effect.
I knew that was going to bum you out.
Terrible sound effect.
Sorry to anyone who has headphones in.
I was going to say a bum to everyone who had headphones in. They were just like, ew, get out of my head, you weirdos.
Welcome to the What If ASMR cast.
Oh, never. Oh, God, never. I'm gonna just like bring in cotton balls and rub them near the microphone.
Hell yeah, we gotta get a nice stereo situation going.
It'll work well with our new light kit. We'll really be setting the mood.
We'll get one of those, what's it called? Binaural microphone situations.
Oh.
Where you put them like in your ears, you know, those things.
And then they go like back and forth and they go wah, 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 and they make your head feel weird.
No, that people make, so there are a couple ways to do it. You can either like, you take like a little, usually a small omnidirectional mic, so it records in all directions equally.
Yes.
And you make like a headset out of them, so you actually wear the microphones in your ears so that the microphones are picking up exactly what you hear at the same like spacing and timing that you would hear it.
Oh, okay.
Or people make like model heads with microphones.
Model heads.
Yeah. There's like Neumann makes the classic one that like it looks like a mannequin head.
Yeah.
But they put like two $10,000 condensers in each ear. And so it's
buy this head for $20,000.
Quite literally,
That's
yes.
awesome.
But yeah, so people do it for like 3D audio, for like VR, or for 360 video.
Oh, sure,
and
that makes
stuff,
sense.
so that you're actually getting the immersive experience.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we're gonna do that, but with me eating soup.
God, I can think of almost nothing less I'd like to listen to right now.
With close-up 360 video also.
Also, I don't think there's going to be 360 audio from you eating soup unless you're eating it in
I'm
like
spinning.
a lot of locations at once.
I'm spinning in a circle, twirling and eating soup.
Oh, boy.
Always twirling.
Sounds like you're going to lose some soup, bud.
Well, that'll be a new sound.
Losing your soup?
360 soup loss.
I lost my soup. That's going to be our new metaphor for just like when it's all...
We can't stomach something we're talking about.
Or just like when the whole program's cocked. Like when you're too Deckard. It's like, oh, you lost your soup, bud.
Instead of losing the plot, we've lost our soup.
We lost our soup. You didn't give me your strong in your week.
Oh, yeah.
If we're doing it, we're fucking doing it,
No,
bruv.
you're right. Let's start talking about 360 soup.
And we got a little derailed.
We lost our soup, if you will.
We've never gotten derailed before, though, so...
I'm feeling strong in a self-employment sense lately.
Yeah, hell yeah, bruv.
The old find shit to do that pays you every month game.
Yeah.
I'm feeling kind of physically weak at the moment.
Okay.
I fucked up my ankle playing basketball when I had like some good like fitness momentum going. And then it was also a week where you're encouraged to like sit around and eat food and drink. And
yep.
I partook in both.
And you're like, oh no.
Yeah. And then yesterday morning,
I'm going the wrong direction.
yeah. And like I also wasn't working out, which, compounds the problem.
Right.
So feeling a little physically weak, which then, cocks the whole program, if you will.
It's
all
loses
connected.
The whole soup.
Yeah.
Well, not to like fly in the face of yours, but I worked out before work today for the first time in a while.
See, we got to record the podcast.
And that was, I was happy with myself. I said, hey, great job. Hey, self, great job.
I can't do the early morning workouts. I'd rather do a late night workout than an early morning one. I feel good afterwards, but goddamn.
I used to do that when I was in high school. There was a 24-hour Lifetime by my house when I was in high school, and I would go shoot hoops and go swimming at like 11:30 because it was summertime, and I was like, no one else is doing anything on a Tuesday, and I'm bored, and I'm not going to go to sleep for another 2.5, 3 hours anyway. So I would just go for a late night swim. I'd be the only one in the pool, and then get out and like throw on some shorts and shoot hoops and call it a day.
I love the return of Rec League basketball is tomorrow.
Oh boy, Coach K's coming back.
So
let's go.
We switched up our name this year. Instead of smoking trees and stroking threes.
I'm 1,000% disappointed.
Well, here's the problem. We've been in this league long enough that all the refs hate us. So we're trying to pull a fast one this year and be like, no, that team's not here. This is a new team.
Yeah, because they probably don't recognize faces. They just go, oh, that fucking team again.
Right. So this year we're dang, we love sport. We tried to go extra wholesome with it. So we'll see how it goes.
If it improves, next year you have to change it to like God bless referees or something and just see if you can really.
Our team name is just We Love You next year.
Salute to the stripes. Stripes and whistles. I think just see how much you can brown nose the referees.
Foot Locker employee team.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah, last year it got cut off too, so we were just smoking trees and stroking, and it was just time for a change.
That might have explained why the refs were not super thrilled about you in the first place. Like, ew, what? Can y'all get it together? Ew.
No, we absolutely cannot.
No, we cannot.
All right, you want to talk about alien owls?
Hi, everybody. It's the What If Podcast. If this is your first episode,
sorry.
You're having a weird day. Yeah, we're going to talk about aliens and owls and both.
Hell yeah.
Or drunks. or all of the above.
Why not all?
This is, I feel like we've talked about before, we've covered a significant number of, I would say, like the quote-unquote classics. I feel like this is sort of...
When it comes to alien encounters or just weird shit in general?
Just like weird shit stories.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of the classics. Not a lot of them, but like we've done a decent number of them. Mm-hmm. I feel like this one is in the realm of like classic stories that we've maybe referenced, but we've never actually been like, fuck it, we're going in.
I tend to gravitate towards the like B tier classics. So not the like JFK assassinations and faking the moon landing.
Yeah.
Because everyone's done those, but the ones that are like that next tier down where there's still a bunch of information and speculation.
But not a lot of like coverage.
But like, slightly off the beaten path.
Okay.
This is one of those to me.
Okay. I like that.
We've referenced it a few times in the past, I believe.
I think we have, but we've never gone in. So today we're going in.
We shall do her.
We're doing the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter. There's the Kelly Goblins is another phrase for this one, which I like a lot.
Just the Kelly, not the Hopkinsville. Just the Kelly Goblins.
Kelly Goblins. Well, I guess I understand the Kelly Hopkinsville combination because it's like
it was like in between the two locations, right?
Well, technically it happened in Kelly, but then it got reported in Hopkinsville because it was the bigger city near it. So I think it was like
sure.
Yes, and
sure.
I don't know. But yeah, we're going back in time.
That's a very good question. You'd need to go and speak to some owls.
Here we go. We're about to.
I don't know why that one's still on the soundboard,
but it's applicable.
I didn't even remember what it was, but there's just one that said owls, so I went for it.
Did we? Maybe it was on here because we did an episode about this and we just don't remember it.
You know, honestly,
it's
150
possible.
whatever, 160 in, I would not be surprised. I actually had that thought last night when I was doing...
You're like, have we done this before?
Right, because I think I referenced it in the... I think it was a Patreon episode we talked about the Hellier show that came out last year.
Yeah.
Which originates near Kelly Hopkinsville and with goblins coming out of the ground.
Yes.
Also, a new season of that show dropped on Friday.
Uh-oh.
And I've not watched it yet.
Uh-oh.
But when I have a minute, I'm going to.
Uh-oh.
And I'll give you a review on an upcoming Patreon episode. I didn't get sent the screeners like our friend Rob. We're not cool enough yet.
Oh, shit.
Rob Christofferson has legit UFO cred. We just have idiot cred.
Yeah.
dumb guy who's friends with some smart people cred.
Which equals basically no cred.
Yeah,
or
no one sends us
tangential cred.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think people often tie them together because there are enough similarities. So I'm sure we referenced it because of some similarities.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to 1955, August 21st.
Let's go there.
In Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And there were 5 adults and 7 children who pulled up to a police station at 11 o'clock claiming they had been fighting off aliens for the past 4 hours.
Which, we're not going to bury the lead. It's a pretty strong start. Mm-hmm. Now, already we enter one of the tough parts about these types of stories is I saw 8 adults and 3 children. I saw 7 adults and 5 children. And I saw the numbers that you're quoting as well. So I don't know.
So to be more specific, the number that I'm quoting is the number of people and the, I guess, ratio of adults to children that showed up to the police station. I don't think everyone who was at the house went to the police.
Okay.
But it is unclear. The reporting on this is murky. And it's now, 65 years old.
Right. But I will say it's murky, but we do have some pretty good and cool, like, there's a newspaper article that details this in really solid detail from the day afterwards, which I will read some chunks of.
Yeah, that
inevitably
is available on Google, which is fun.
Yeah.
So the story goes, we're at Glennie Langford's house, who had her 3 adult sons and their wives and kids over for dinner one night.
And the rest
on the 21st.
And the rest of the family is the Suttons, right? There's like a bunch of the Sutton family.
Yeah, and then there was also a gentleman named Billy Ray, who was a family friend and not related, who was there that night.
And he was in town from Pennsylvania. Billy Ray. I get to use my southern accent on this episode.
I listened to the most recent episode of the Dolly Parton's America podcast that I was plugging a couple weeks ago, and it's all about exploitation of Southern stereotypes for profit.
Here we go.
So I'm not gonna do it. I'm acutely aware tonight of the Southern accent and stereotypes. So I'm gonna try and avoid them, but they do sort of play in at times. Here.
I'm going in.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going ham on it.
I will. That is your call, I suppose.
Well, the guy. Well, we'll get there.
That's what I'm saying. Whatever. I'm gonna try and be not an asshole about it.
Okay.
At about
gonna be a teeny one.
7:00 on the 21st of August, 1955, Billy Ray steps outside, I believe, to grab water.
Yeah, he was going to the well.
Yeah, because they did not have running water in their house.
And it's summertime in Kentucky. They don't have a lot of they don't have air conditioning. They don't have running water. I even believe they don't have outdoor lights on the house. They had some indoor electricity, but no outdoor electricity.
We're in a very rural area 65 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
That should tell you a lot.
So he steps outside and he sees a bright light flash or streak across the sky.
Yes.
This is sometimes reported as seeing a UFO move overhead and then land in some trees behind the house.
Yeah.
Depending on where it's reported, it's either a light flashed and then, or he watches a UFO move overhead and land.
Yeah, it's also, in some situations, it's described as a metallic object, which implies some sort of reflective nature to it. And also, the streaking light is described in some situations as having a multicolor tail, which...
We also were in a very rural, very dark area in a meteor shower.
There was a documented meteor shower at the time. I will say, though, one thing that I find interesting about this story, and I think will come up a couple times, is this is at 7 p.m. in like the Midwest bordering on the South in August. So at 7 p.m., it wouldn't have been that dark at all, right? I mean, like, it probably would have been like almost daylight light, right?
So we're like 2 months, exactly 2 months after the solstice.
I mean,
so you're probably
7 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, it might be like around sunset, maybe.
But I feel like
slightly before,
brightish.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been totally dark by any means. Yeah.
Right. I think the only reason I brought that up was because in my head,
whatever it was must have been pretty bright to stand out.
Yeah. And also I think because of the time of year it is right now as we're putting this out, I'm like, oh shit, it was probably pitch black.
Where it gets dark at 4:15.
Yeah, I left the office at 6:00 and it had been pitch black for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. So he sees either this light flash overhead or anywhere from that to a UFO flies overhead and lands amongst some trees behind the house. He goes back to the house, and then he and the rest of the folks in the house start hearing strange noises outside, and they start hearing their dogs freaking out.
Yeah, and just to add to that, one of the details I find interesting is everybody basically laughed at Billy Ray when he came in because he was sort of like a jokester, prankster type. And so everybody in the family was like, cute story, bro, but nah.
Right.
Like it was not, everyone was like, what? Let's go check it out. It was like, yeah, tee-hee, like cute story.
Yeah. So they're back in the house. They figure something might be up when they hear the dogs freaking, and they go outside to take a look. At that point, they see one of these creatures, goblins, aliens, owls, emerging from this tree line.
Yeah, and just to add slightly, maybe too much detail, but the they that went outside is just Billy Ray Taylor and Lucky Sutton. So the two of them were the ones who were like, we're going to go investigate.
And their first response is to shoot whatever this thing is. Which, not the worst idea.
I mean, did we describe the thing? Did we describe exactly what they saw?
No.
We should describe exactly what they saw.
What did they see emerging from what was this owl, alien, goblin creature that they saw emerge from the trees?
The way they described it after the fact was it appeared to be 3.5 to 4 feet tall.
Okay.
Slightly humanoid in nature with short legs, long, thin arms, saucer-like glowing eyes. Large pointed ears. And the primary piece of this that I think was probably most disconcerting was that it was hovering, not walking.
What the fuck was that?
They're saying that there's this light source with this. I mean, I think it's only humanoid in that, like, it appeared to be bipedal in nature. There was 2 feet, 2 arms. But it was gliding towards them.
Yeah, bipedal, but not walking?
But not walking.
Okay.
Gliding.
Yeah.
Hovering, they said.
An upright something.
Yes.
Yeah.
An upright something moving towards them.
Which, some of that sounds pretty spooky. Some of it also sounds like perhaps an owl. Owls are capable of gliding.
Or a variety of, like...
Owls have pointy ears and 2 feet and...
Or a variety of animals where, like, depending on your identification of gliding or hovering, like, maybe it appeared to be that and you're freaked out in the nighttime.
Some owls can be between 2.5 and 3 feet tall.
Yeah.
Some of them big fuckers.
Yeah. And so when they had gone out to investigate what the dog was barking about, Lucky had a shotgun, Billy Ray had a .22 rifle, and they clanged on it right away.
Yeah, which... So I don't know if this one specifically reacted in this way. They describe later, because there are more of these things in their near future.
Yes. In all of our shared near future,
when
listener.
When they would shoot these things... because these things were also like up in the trees,
Yes,
like owls. At one point, when they shot these things, sometimes the bullets would like clang off of them. They said it sounded like shooting a metal trash can.
Yeah,
sort of like a metal thud, clang, hollow
rattle
sound. Yeah.
Yep.
But some of them they said would like float down to the ground.
Yeah.
Like a big leaf falling out of a tree. So they wouldn't drop. They seemed to be incredibly light or somehow like...
levitating.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know what happened with this first one when they shot it.
Yep.
But they said that after the first one, most of them were resistant to their shots.
Yes.
There's a quote from a Skeptoid did a podcast and like long write up on this case.
Got it.
In that long write up, it says, quote, "Shoot them and they'd float to the ground and then escape. The men went through whole boxes of ammunition. The children were hidden under the beds, and the men repeatedly fired through the windows at faces that kept popping up in an almost funhouse fashion."
Yeah, they had come back in after shooting at this first one, shut the doors, and were basically keeping an eye on the yard and kept going at them. There was one point...
whack an alien in the windows.
Yeah, exactly. There had been a certain point where Billy Ray had stepped back out front to check out one that he saw in the yard, and Glennie Sutton saw a spindly hand reach down from above the door.
Dang.
And grab him by the head.
His head fell off.
Right? After which Glennie basically saw it, like as it was reaching down to grab him by the arm and yanked him back in the house.
What?
And Lucky ran out with his gun and starts shooting.
Wait. They had one of these things inside the house at one point?
No. He was just outside the front door. and it came down from above the house and grabbed him by the head.
Yeah.
And as it was doing that, she yanked Billy Ray back into the house.
I thought you meant he reached up and grabbed this thing above him and pulled the creature into the house.
No.
That makes more sense.
She pulled him in like, oh shit, there's something about to grab your head, and pulled him back in the house. And Lucky came the other direction and was like, I'm going to start firing because I can see it from behind. So he went out. Hell fucking yeah, you are. Lucky went outside and started shooting at this thing that was apparently above the eave of the house.
Got it.
And apparently it had the same clang and disappeared back over the house.
One last thing from that Skeptoid quote. It said that the families estimated that 12 to 15 creatures were involved.
Yeah, and this was another one where I've seen this number reported differently in multiple different places. I saw one place said 3 to 4. I saw one place say 12 to 15. And I saw another number that was like 10. So I don't know, again... gets a little muddy.
If you're inside the house, so far they've seen one like sort of close up outside.
Yeah.
And then the rest of this, they're inside the house, seeing these things through the windows and hearing them move around like on the roof and around the outside of the house. I don't know how you would get a good estimate.
Yeah, unless you saw them all simultaneously.
But you're going to look through a window. Even if you look through a window and see 12 sitting outside, couldn't that mean that there were then 50 of these things surrounding the house?
Because there's something making a noise on top of your house right now, and you don't know.
And you can see 15 out of that window. Like,
yeah,
I'm guessing it's something more like they heard a couple or a few,
right?
And at one point or another, there was like somebody saw one over here and they heard something on the roof.
Right. And based on the distribution of it, they were like, there's got to be a bunch of them or whatever it is.
Right. I think all we can say for sure is that there was more than one.
Yeah. Because there was too many things happening simultaneously for them to...
Or one really fast something, I guess.
Yeah.
but probably, yeah, anywhere from 2 to, I guess, 15 of whatever these were.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense, too, because, you know, as they're doing this crazy funhouse shit, like they had moved the children upstairs into a bedroom as they were like trying to figure out whatever the fuck they were trying to figure out. And as they're shooting at something out the front window, there was one that was banging on the window that the kids were in that stuck its face up by the window. So like, I think from that angle too, you go like, oh, if I can see 2 out here and one's all the way the fuck up there fucking with the kids, you're like,
there must be a dozen.
There must be a bunch at that point. And also they were popping into other not into, but like appearing in other windows as well in the house.
Looking through maybe.
So
I can't remember the specifics of the episode, but there is a original Twilight Zone episode.
Ooh. About this?
I don't know if it's about
Similar?
this, but it reminds me a lot of this incident.
Okay.
There's a woman in like a small country house who's being harassed by aliens.
Oh, well, that's not very nice.
But the twist at the end is that they're like little tiny miniature aliens and she's a giant to them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that probably would have been, because I think that original series ran in the 50s.
I don't
know. Late 50s, early 60s.
I couldn't tell you.
Maybe it was early 60s. But it would have been like pretty close to this incident or like soon after.
Potentially inspired by.
Yeah.
Or maybe probably inspired by if they were looking for weird shit and that made national news at the time.
Right. This incident was also the origin of the phrase little green men. Yeah.
So when this was, well, we should say, okay, so they...
Yeah, we could finish the story, I suppose.
And then get to the
Sure.
the newspaper article where that comes up. They essentially they fight, if you will, fire at these things for what they say is about 3 hours.
Yeah, so the first sighting was about 7 o'clock, and then they showed up at the police station at 11 o'clock. So adding in some drive time and stuff, we're looking at like 3.5 hours, something like that.
Yeah, and I looked at it. The Hopkinsville downtown area is only about like 15 minutes away from Cali.
Okay.
So, I mean, they may not have been in Kelly proper. It might have been outside of Kelly, but we figure 15, 20, 30 minutes to drive it.
3.5 hours or so.
Yeah.
That they were battling these
things. And yeah, there was a break in the action, if you will, of them attacking the house. And they were like, we should get the fuck out of here because this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And they left and went to Hopkinsville to report it to the police. So when they got to Hopkinsville, the sergeant working at the police station was like, no, like, you guys are crazy. And they basically had enough conversation with him for him to finally be like, okay, this seems weird, but like, I guess we should go look at it.
Something is apparently going on.
One of the articles I found said the sergeant at the police station believed that it was possible that they had gotten into a gunfight with locals in the area, which I was like, is that a thing that you just are like, well, maybe them folks be shooting each other
Yeah, it
again?
sounds like something you might want to address as law enforcement, a gunfight.
Those Kelly folks having their miniature civil wars on a random
Seems like that
fucking
probably
evening in the summer.
falls within your jurisdiction
Yeah,
as the police.
totally. But the weird part
Not
about
going to
it...
talk about the police this episode.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Keep that on the Patreon.
Yeah, all right, that sounds pretty good. The thing that I couldn't wrap my head around was the amount of people that were then sent to the Sutton estate in Kelly were 4 city police officers, 5 state troopers, 3 deputy sheriffs,
12.
and 4 military police officers from the
16.
nearby Fort Campbell.
We got 16 people out there.
Now, I understand you had 2 guys empty, or 3 actually, because another guy, JC, had a shotgun as well.
Who the fuck is JC?
JC, I think he was one of the Suttons.
Chavez?
JC Sutton was another one of the folks in the family. I think he was a Sutton.
Whatever.
Yeah, John Charlie Sutton, JC Sutton.
A lot of dudes shooting at stuff.
They said that they emptied somewhere near 100 rounds trying to shoot at these things.
Who said that? The police did or the men did?
I'm actually not sure which.
Because this is another number that I've seen with a huge range.
I completely agree. I think they self-reported we must have shot it at 100 times.
Okay.
And I know the cops did find a bunch of shells, but I didn't see a number for the shells that got found.
Yeah.
But I still, like, so you sent 16 people from 4 different departments of, like, both military and police jurisdiction to check out this thing. Like, it just seems a little aggressive.
Well, yes, I would agree. There's also the angle of, regardless of what they were shooting at, they're out there spending 100 rounds on something, and that's probably not safe.
Yeah, totally. Like, we should at least go check on these people.
And maybe they're shooting at other humans, which is especially not safe.
And fucking up their whole house in the process, by the way.
They were shooting out through the windows at times.
Like, literally breaking glass windows.
Like, not an open window, like shooting through a closed window at stuff.
Shotgun blasts through screen doors.
Yeah.
Like, fucking... They're, like, when the cops, or... cops, troopers, sheriffs, whatever, when
various
they all showed
forms
up,
of law enforcement,
they found the evidence of them shooting through, like, walls. Like, there was bullet holes in the door frames, there was bullet holes in windows and screens.
This reporting also varies wildly.
Yes.
But yes, the low end is like they shot out one window. The high end is
multiple
they fucked
windows.
the whole house up.
Yeah. But yeah, so they checked it out. There wasn't a ton of there wasn't any evidence of what they had actually been fighting,
except the one weird green glowing light.
There's a glowing light.
They left alien goo
in a place where one of the guys said they had shot at something.
I have not had any close encounters, and I'm pissed.
But they couldn't retrieve any of it. It was more just like a green glow, which some people have attributed to a forest fungus that is like phospholuminescent.
Bioluminescent?
Yeah, that may be one of those.
When biology makes light?
What's phospholuminescent?
That's not a word.
Phospholuminescent?
Phosphorescent?
Phosphorescent? Phospholumin? Probably phosphorescent.
I think that's right. I don't know what that means, though. I'm pretty sure it's a word. I think the word you're looking for is bioluminescent or bioluminescence.
You're probably right.
That's when biology creates light through biological processes.
You're probably right.
You know, like algae and such.
Apparently, there's a band called Phosphorescent.
Cool.
That's not what I was referring to. All right,
Phosphorus is a thing.
I quit. Bioluminescent.
They saw a light.
Natural things. There is a fungus that is found in the south that is found in forests and is known to be bioluminescent. That can give off a green light. So many people chalked it up to that. The police left. The family went back to the house, and at 3:30 in the morning, whatever this fucking thing or things were or was returned. And
the police were there for a minute, though, right?
They stayed there for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And they finally probably bounced out at like, I don't know, 1, 2 in the morning or whatever.
1:30 or something, yeah.
And then these things came back at 3:30 in the morning.
Well, the cops are gone.
While the cops are gone.
They had to go into hiding.
They had to wait. So after that, the family essentially left because they were like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Face your fears, son.
And the next day, townspeople and the newspapers and everything kind of flooded the house to get the lowdown on this wild-ass story that had occurred over the night. Which is where we get the newspaper article from, which I'm just going to read a small piece of because I think it's cool / interesting that we have a very very real, like you can get the microfiche of the homepage of the Kentucky New Era.
Was this the next day, the 22nd?
It was. There was the 22nd.
Okay.
So it was the very next day, which is interesting because that means that somebody got to interview police and family members at some point in the night or morning and still get it out in the paper that day, which I don't fully...
If this event was going through the night, like round 2 started at 3:30 a.m.
Right. Do you have reporters who hang out by the police station and follow the cops around when they go do stuff and write stories about it overnight? Maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
I suppose in a small town, maybe word of anything unusual travels quickly too.
But man, I'm just going to read the headline and the first couple paragraphs because it's so wild. The headline is, Story of Spaceship, 12 Little Men Probed Today. Kelly farmhouse scene of alleged raid by strange crew last night. Reports say bullets failed to affect visitors. All kinds of investigations were going on today in connection with the bizarre story of how a spaceship carrying 12 to 15 little men landed in the Kelly community early last night and battled occupants of a farmhouse. Most officials of the probes was reportedly being staged by the Air Force. More than a dozen...
Sorry, say that last line again.
Most official of the probes was reportedly being staged by the Air Force.
Oh, okay.
As in... The most official
Those
probe.
were the 4 military police folk that you referenced earlier?
Correct.
Okay.
As in the highest level of government that showed up to look into this thing was people from the Air Force.
And that there is a base nearby?
Yeah, Fort Campbell is nearby.
Okay.
More than a dozen state, county, and city officers from Christian and Hopkins counties went to the scene between 11 p.m. and midnight and remained until after 2 a.m. without seeing anything either to prove or disprove the story about the ship and its occupants.
What would disprove that story?
I mean, I don't know, man.
A gang of owls, I guess?
Yeah, or a bunch of dead owls with fucking bullets in their heads. Like, you might be like, oh, yeah, we found what you were shooting
Inside
at.
of wearing trash cans over their heads?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it was a bunch of owls that got stuck in metal trash cans, and that's why they couldn't really fly. They were just sort of hovering.
Oh, sure. It was just a perfect enough counterweight for them to flap their wings and only go as high as that would let them.
Yeah.
It's pretty smart. I like it.
Armored owls. Put it on the list.
Armored owls. The armored owl. It's got to be the armored owls, right? The armored owls.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it does. So that article, where you obviously heard the writer of that article say little men, the stories later on was turned from little men into little gray men because they described them as gray. And then in some other article that I don't actually know which one is, someone called them green instead of gray because green men coincided better with more of the tropes of the time around like aliens, little green men.
Well,
right?
I think this was the origin of Little Green Men, so that wouldn't have been.
Was it?
That's what I've heard.
Maybe you're right.
And the timing seems about right.
Rob!
Yeah.
Help! Rob knows.
You're saying, wait, what was the band name we just came up with?
The Armored Owls.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was reading a Reddit thread yesterday.
Yes.
On Hip Hop Heads, which is some like 80% dumpster fire and 20% just pure gold.
Awesome. Yeah.
There was a thread yesterday of some high school kid who just decided to write out the like full history of the hip hop scene at his tiny high school in northern Michigan, and like all the crews and all the like diss tracks and all the beefs between all of them and stuff for the last 4 years.
This sounds phenomenal.
And he posted links to a lot of the songs on SoundCloud and stuff.
Yes.
And they're all horrible.
Yeah, but also they're probably great.
But one of the first lines of one of them is, "I ball hard like an armadillo."
Oh, man. You know what?
Which might be the best line in the shittiest song I've ever heard.
That's a really fire bar.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Everything else about that song was just
terrible.
Dog shit, but
I ball hard like an armadillo. Woof.
You got me hooked.
Strong.
You know the thing about like, in the first 3 seconds whether you're going to like a song or not? I knew in the first 3 seconds that I loved that song.
Yeah, you made it. Mm-hmm. You won me over. Throughout the days and months and even years that followed the Kelly Goblins or the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter, police and others noted that the family's stories and descriptions of the beings remained relatively consistent throughout all conversations that were had. Neighbors acknowledged that they had seen lights both in the sky and in the woods that night of the 21st. But
that's pretty weird.
But that they thought that the Sutton family was potentially trying to go after a pig that had gotten loose from their farm. So they were like, oh, they're probably using lanterns to go find a piece of like livestock that they had lost that evening.
Did you say a piece of livestock?
Is that, I don't know what the a lives. It's not a livestock.
You could just say a pig.
A pig. An animal. A
fucking sow in the woods.
A friggin' animal, bud.
A wild beast. No, a tamed beast.
A tamed beast. But speaking of wild beasts, they neighbors also confirmed that they had heard gunfire coming from the Sutton property, but it was relatively normal in Kentucky at the time to be scaring off bobcats or...
Yeah, most nights you hear a couple pap-paps. Yeah.
Somebody's shooting somebody in this town. But scaring off a bobcat or something that, again, that could be threatening your profits or your livestock.
Scaring off an alien. It's threatening your livelihood.
Yeah. But I think those things are relevant to say that they acknowledge that there was a commotion on the property that included both gunfire and light in the woods in some capacity. It wasn't as if the family had just fully invented this entirely.
Well,
I mean, they could have done those things via invention. I'm just saying the things.
All that we can confirm is that they were outside at night shooting at stuff.
Sure. Yes.
Which could be
for a lot of things.
The spectrum from nothing to aliens coming out of a spaceship.
True. But also, press came, people were looking for souvenirs. They wanted to take a piece of the house in some cases. People had wanted to take, like...
That's fucked up.
Yeah, like, this house had been touched by aliens or whatever, I guess. The family at one point tried to start charging people who wanted to come do it.
Pieces of their house?
Yeah, but had done so primarily
selling
also...
your house, like, square inch by square inch?
Right. I mean, I guess. But they also had done so because... so many unwanted people were traipsing through their fields that they were starting to basically fuck their land up, and they couldn't live a normal life because there were so many people that were coming to gawk and ask questions and fucked with their fields and fucked with their livestock, and they wanted to start charging because they were trying to be like, what the fuck? Like, if you're going to come fuck our shit up, you got to give us money for it.
Can I do a quick Dad Dogs Ghost Blog update?
Fuck yeah, you can, bro.
So
this is our shit.
It snowed a lot for the first time this year, last week. I think as we were recording this episode last week, or was it the Patreon? Whatever.
One of
them.
Was
about this time last week. It snowed a whole bunch.
I can see from the studio. I can see Spencer's neighbor's roof, and that roof went from a normal gray shingle roof to a completely white, like 6-inch snow roof in the time that we were done recording.
Yeah. So the next day, my idiot dog, he actually like woke up super early and I don't think slept most of the night because he was so excited that he could see snow out the window.
Yep.
So I get up and I let him outside in the morning, and he's just like running laps around the yard, jumping up and down, sticking his face in the snow, just being, he loves it.
Yep.
And at one point, we have this like downspout on the back of the house, and we've got like a little extension on it because it goes across the sidewalk. And he gets so amped and everything looks different that he manages to pull this downspout extension off of the downspout.
It's a big bone, man.
And so he's got this like 6, maybe 8 foot long piece of plastic tubing.
Yeah.
In his mouth.
A big bone, bro.
In his mouth, running around the yard.
Yes.
And I imagine in his head just screaming, I got the house.
I got it.
I got part of the house.
I won. Fuck you, Dad. I won. I got the fucking house.
Fuck with me, I'm grown now.
I own it now.
He's just, it's too big for him to actually.
You eat out of a bowl, Dad. I own the house now.
Dad, blame it, boy.
It's too big for him to like really carry, but he's like got his head sideways, kind of dragging it behind him across the snow.
Is there anything better than when a dog gets a stick that's far too big for it to carry? I don't think so.
Also today, some of that snow started melting and then refreezing and making a bunch of icicles on my garage.
Oh, big time.
And he learned this afternoon that he can go back there, jump up, and knock the ice bones off the side of the house.
Ice bones! Yay! Ice bones!
Also put on the list.
Yes.
But he was running around with like 3 foot long icicles in his mouth, thinking he had just fucking solved the mysteries of the universe.
Yes. I mean, how happy is a dog with a bone that is also a bowl of water?
Yeah.
The happiest dog ever.
He was born in January last year, and like he was so incredibly sad when the snow melted because I think he just thought that was going to be how life was, that he was always going to be in the snow. It took him like, he didn't pee for like a full day because he didn't know that he could pee not on snow.
Oh no.
Yeah. And so he was just the happiest boy in the world when it returned.
Got it.
Because I think he thought it was never coming back.
I love it.
Anyway,
that's the story of the encounter itself and what we know, or quote unquote know, about what it was and what happened. There's a handful of, I guess, theories. We've already obviously alluded to one of the primary ones, or I guess the primary one that dismisses this, which is that through some collective mind meld psycho.
where's the rest of this going?
Isn't there a word for this?
I don't know what you're trying to say yet.
What's like the collective psychosis or whatever?
Oh, the delusion of two, but in French.
Yeah, that one.
Folie à deux.
Yeah, that's the one.
Something like that.
Where essentially, like, is it possible Billy Ray sees the thing coming through the sky, which is just a comet, but it's 1955, and that's not a super familiar concept, and he had never seen one before.
Meteor, by the way.
Meteor, sorry. Sees it and goes like, that's fucking crazy. And then on his way back, sees a giant owl, and he's from Pennsylvania, and maybe he hasn't seen owls like this in this size. And it's sliding towards him in the forest, and he's fully freaked the fuck out and convinces everyone through his passion and fear that there's something else going on. And it's possible that great horned owls are, well, not possible. It is known that great horned owls have the potential to be aggressive when defending their nests. So is it possible that Billy Ray had disturbed a great horned owl's nest in his walk to the well in the evening that night, and that these owls proceeded to essentially defend against the house by bopping into the windows? Was the arm that reached down and grabbed his head a swooping owl that came down and like basically tried to do an owl attack on the top of his head?
Or an owl, perched on the roof.
You're right.
Yeah.
Or perched on the roof and swooping down to grab him or whatever. That's the way the story is most frequently dismissed, I should say.
Yeah, which I think is reasonable. A great horned owl specifically, like, do and live in that area. Mm-hmm. They're roughly the size that was described. They're usually like 2.5 feet tall.
Yep.
The 12 to 15 number is weird. There wouldn't have been a dozen owls probably, but also
no. But they also could have got that wrong.
Yeah, we can be pretty sure that that's just an estimate.
The biggest. Sorry.
And going back to this Skeptoid article for a second, it says, quote, the families themselves stated that only once did anyone see as many as 2 at the same time.
Okay.
I don't know where that's being sourced from, but
right.
I do think it's so. Yeah, I think that is possible. I think if we're going Occam's razor, that's the most likely explanation. I do, however, think it's weird that people living in that area wouldn't recognize an owl.
See, fucking thank you. I literally have this written in all caps in my notes. If you live in fucking rural Kentucky, you've seen an owl in
especially
the evening.
If they're nesting near your house.
Yeah, you've seen them in the evening. You've seen them in the daytime. Even if they're nocturnal beings, you've seen them. Like, there's no way that is a thing that is so unfamiliar to you that you want to fucking get all of your guns and shoot multiple rounds through fucking doors and windows to get that thing away from
damage to your own home. I also think it's odd that someone living in that area would be so confused or mistake a meteor so badly. I mean, I live and have always lived in an urban area, and I know what meteors look like. I've seen them many times. They've never scared me. They've never made me think that an alien spacecraft was landing.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think it's possible that, again, like if this person was from, I don't know, maybe he was from Philadelphia in like a slightly urban area and like hadn't seen them in Philadelphia and this was his first time visiting Kentucky and he's out by the well and like maybe it was a pretty low, pretty bright one and he was like, holy shit, that fucked me up.
I've seen low, bright meteors like in Minneapolis though.
I mean, I have too, but I'm just saying, like, is it possible that, I mean, everyone has to have their first time. We don't know how old this dude is. Like, maybe it was the first one he'd ever seen and it freaked him out.
But even if you do, they don't land. They're not shaped like a craft. They don't light up on the ground. Things don't come out. Like, there's so many more steps between that. Even if you're seeing a light in the sky that you don't immediately recognize, there's so many steps between that and saying, a UFO landed there, and I saw a thing come out of it.
Well, he never says he saw a thing come out of it. He says he saw something land, and then the thing
to make
in
a
the
connection
woods
between the two.
Sure, I get it.
Also, if I were to bring some skepticism to this whole thing, it's not clear how much of this story actually originated with the people that were there, or even with law enforcement. We really only have one like original source to go off of, which is that newspaper article you referenced earlier.
Yep.
Everything else that's out there, we can't really trace back to any quotes, to any actual information. We have no photographic evidence of anything. It really is like a retelling of a retelling of a retelling at this point.
Yes.
For most of the information that we have.
Yes.
And a lot of the, like, I guess more salacious bits of this story, I don't think are in that original article.
I mean, like the hand reaching down and grabbing the head is definitely in the original article.
I guess I'm thinking more specifically the like alien UFO angle.
Oh no, it's like that's like the primary angle of that article.
But what specifically do they reference? Do they say like Billy Ray, age 28, says, and then is there like?
One sec.
Like how specific does it get, I guess? Or is it...
Get it back open really quick.
You know.
It says... I mean, it's just a retelling... I
guess I'm saying, do we have quotes? Do we have any firsthand information?
The firsthand information is from Chief Greenwell and Deputy Sheriff Batts, who say they got this story from the still terrified and excited Sutton and Taylor families. So the way that I understand it is that the writer of the article interviewed the two police folk that were in the station when the family gave their original story.
Okay. I'm looking at that same article now. I'm assuming it's the Kentucky New Era, yeah. So this says at one point, spokesman for the crowd told of how something resembling a spaceship or flying saucer landed at the back of their house, and 12 or 15 men who appeared to be about 4 feet tall got out of the ship and came up to the house and done battle with the occupants. This is written weirdly.
Well, he done battle.
It actually says
they done battle with them.
The actual quote is 12 or 15 men who appeared to be about 4 feet tall and got out of the ship and come up to the house and done battle with the occupants. That's the actual quote.
Well, let's
no, I'm not doing any stereotypes. No stereotypes tonight. Nope. Yeah. So okay.
Billy Ray gonna kill us some aliens tonight.
God damn it! Don't do it.
See, just saying.
Yeah. So this is mostly from law enforcement. There are no direct quotes from any of the family, as far as I can tell.
We need help. One of the men said, "We've been fighting them for nearly 4 hours."
Yeah, that doesn't tell us anything.
One of the family ones. One of the quotes that I do like, which is,
sorry.
Uh-oh. What happened? What'd you find?
The men got their guns: a shotgun for Sutton and a .22 caliber target pistol for Taylor. By and by, one of the little men pressed his face against the window, and the shotgun was fired through the window.
Yeah, dude.
The face disappeared.
Yeah, dude. I bet it did. I bet it turned to fucking dust, bro. You blow a shotgun through a window from 6 feet away, that face is powder now.
Why are you pressing your face up against the window, and then immediately your face is just shot off?
I mean,
God damn.
Carol and Barnett.
The men decided to go outside and see if the visitor had been hit.
Yeah.
You just shot him in the face from point blank, bud.
They were looking for an alien body.
Oh, boy, with no face.
Carol Ann Barnett wrote the Kelly Hopkinsville incident, an historical review in 1998. And she wrote something that I thought was pretty interesting. She said, based on my experience of the region, I would testify to the fact that no one in that area would consider making up anything remotely like what the Suttons and Taylor said they saw. The residents of southwestern Kentucky are people who even now are largely religious and conformists. To make up a story like this, one would run the risk of being branded as insane or a congenital liar with a pox on their family to boot. The ridicule, the contempt, the ostracism, the media circus, no one would risk it. It just wouldn't happen unless it really happened. Now, I say that to say, I think that's interesting to say that some people say, well, and we've gone through this before with these stories, well, the family made it up. They made up a story to get the attention, to get the interviews, to get the money, to charge people to come to their house or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case here. But also,
I don't think it is either.
That quote also is basically worthless.
Why? In what way?
It's who's it from?
Carol Ann Barnett. She wrote,
and who is she?
I don't know. She's a historian who wrote about the area at the time and wrote about the specific incident.
I'm just saying, like, somebody who didn't know the actual people involved, generalizing about all people in this region to say to come to the conclusion that something couldn't happen, like, that's just not true. Of course it could.
It could, but
and you don't know the people involved. You don't know the context.
It could, but you don't think there's an ounce of validity to someone saying the culture of the community at the time was not one wherein this would be a thing that would be like looked upon fondly. That you knowing that you were doing this was to risk your livelihood, your community, your social elements. Like,
sure.
I think that's valid to say about a community at the time in the place.
Yeah. Yes. I also don't think this is a hoax to begin with.
I don't either. I think
someone unassociated with any of this stuff making a generalization doesn't move anything for me more than like 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
It makes it what I already thought was unlikely 2% less likely.
I think it is a interesting anecdote related to one of the put out explanations, which is the family made it up, and I don't think that's what happened.
No, I don't think that's a good explanation. to begin with.
No, I don't either. But I think it's a nice additional piece to help check that box and say that's probably not what happened. I also, for what it's worth, have a hard time with this family fought 2 owls who lived on their property for 4 hours explanation, because that seems so ridiculously unlikely to me that, okay, there are descriptors of this thing or things, whatever, that first of all, it fucking glowed. Owls don't glow. Owls also don't have arms and legs. They have legs, but they don't have arms.
I don't know. Maybe you ever seen that video of the naked baby owls in the attic?
Yeah, they do look creepy, but those things are standing in a barn. They're not gliding towards you.
Well, they could be.
Well, they could
Owls be gliding, bro.
Owls do
Silent
be gliding.
wings, sharp talons.
But also, you know what owls don't do? Clang when you shoot them. Like, that's a thing that's a very weird, specific detail of this whole story, that they were clanging and not being affected. Now, maybe it was dark and these guys were terrible shots and they were shooting these things multiple times. And I don't know, maybe they're hitting fucking fence posts or well buckets or fucking whatever, and metal's clanging when they're shooting and they're thinking they're hitting things that they're missing and then clanging against. But still, it's a weird anecdote to say that's happened over and over again. And then, the last thing I'll say is there's just been so many, there has to have been so many sightings of this over 4 hours that not only would you shoot at it that many times, but you would also be inclined to, at a certain point, be like, we are so convinced this is a thing that we have to put the family in 2 separate vehicles and drive into town to the cops because we're so freaked out by this. Like, that's a level of personal conviction related to what something is that I feel like speaks...
Or isn't, or... unknown, or
like that speaks volumes to me of being like, it might just be the owls in the area, let's just shut the windows and doors and go to sleep, was not a thing that they were thinking of in their mind. It was, we have to keep firing at this thing until there's a quiet period where we can get in the cars and get the fuck out of here. Like, that to me says, that says a lot about people who are rural people who live in this area who should know what's going on, or should know better if that is what that is.
If this is your reaction, then that should have been happening every night.
Right. Because that can't be the first time that you would have disturbed the horned owls who had a nest in your area and fucked your house up and terrorized it for 4 total hours. Like, those are some persistent fucking owls to be coming out your windows.
Man. Their time to shine. They were just waking up.
Time to shine.
Literally.
We've been waiting to fuck this house up. I got my rest in. I'm feeling good. I don't know.
That is weird. And the only real piece that we do have documented is that they showed up at a police station that night saying this stuff.
Right.
Which that in itself is odd. We don't have confirmation or evidence or even good, anecdotal evidence of any of the other parts of this story.
Yeah, we just have this newspaper article.
Which even the article cites one source, which is the police department.
Yeah.
So I am skeptical of any of the details of this story in terms of was it one shot? Was it 300? Did they see one thing or 2 things? Did they see 15? Was something glowing? Was something not glowing? Did a UFO land, or was it a meteor? There's so much, there's such a lack of specificity to any of it. And then there are no sources for any of it. It seems very possible to me that this story has evolved over time to include all of the elements that now are in the common telling of it.
Yes,
but
and
the
no.
basic premise is odd, to say the least.
I hear what you're saying. I would say, in terms of some of the stories we've talked about, the initial article, the initial coverage of it, is far wilder than a lot of the other stuff that we've encountered. I feel like a lot of the stories we hear, the initial newspaper story is strange, but then details get built on from, well, someone talked to someone or someone talked to someone. Whereas
the original Roswell was a UFO crashed.
True. But I mean, I guess that's what I mean though, is I put this similarly in the weirdness of that initial reporting of it with the people that were interviewed and talked to, that it's pretty far out. And there's a lot of detail in the initial story.
I guess what I'm saying is that even that initial story is based solely on the word of one family. Not to say that they're hoaxing it, but if they if they misinterpreted anything, then the reporting is going to reflect that.
Yeah, so it's just one retelling of the misinterpretation.
There's no independent confirmation of any of the things being reported there.
Sure.
As far as we know.
Yeah, I mean, there's the only things that are independently reported are that they shot their house up, the neighbors heard and saw gunfire and lights in the woods,
which could have a multitude of explanations.
But nobody can confirm the clanging armadillos.
Right. It's a weird one, which is why I wanted to talk about it. Yeah. I'm also by no means convinced that they fought aliens.
No, I'm not either. And let me be clear, like I'm not arguing that they did. I just think it is weird enough. It's not weird enough. It's weird in its own right, and it's weirder with the detail that is incorporated in the very initial telling, which I would think would be one of the most accurate versions of it, right? It's like
the most accurate we're going to get.
The morning after, and this is what they said the morning after. Again, no guarantees that what they said was what they thought it was, but it's fucking weird.
It's definitely weird. Yeah. I'm not going to argue that.
And the moral of today's story is don't ever go to Kentucky. It's scary there.
No, it's fine.
They've got the hellier stuff and these goblins. And,
hell yeah.
And
I'm going to start watching that tomorrow.
I read something about they got their own version of the skunk ape.
Perfect. Everybody does.
Kentucky Squatch. Sastucky? Well, Sastucky.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right. Hey, we love y'all. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for listening. If you want us to send us an email,
I'll send you an email. You send me one.
All right. Spencer and I are just
Either way, it's hi@whatifpodcast.com.
If you want to leave us a voicemail at 612-246-4614. We've been getting some nice iTunes reviews. That's awesome. We appreciate it when y'all do that. If you want to hop over to iTunes and tell the world that you like us, that'd be great. You can buy shout-outs on the show. Shop.whatifpodcast.com. Get a t-shirt or a poster or a fucking beanie bud. Have a good week. See you next week.